You know, my new faves are coming out with new stuff. Okay, we're getting the new music. I'm getting the new albums. I get to feel my toxicity, go through my emotions once again. And I want my faves to take notes. You know, when one does it, I feel like another one should follow along. Frank, I'm talking to you, babes. I know it's been rough, but I need something, you know. Rihanna, I get it. You just had a baby, but the snap back can happen snap quick. Also, I know you have R9 in the drafts. Just let it be. I know you said, you know, you moved to London. It's just like, let it be the sneaky link. All right. Just send it to me personally. I won't tell nobody. I won't even tell a soul. I want y'all to get it together in correspondence for me, please. I beg of you. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming back. So today I am just going to do a nice album review of our favorite Toxic King. And no, I'm not talking about Latavius. Even though Wait For You, it's a really good song. I watched the music video. I get it. You know, shout out to my baby Thames, you know, giving me the Island Tings vibes. But no, today we are talking about Brent De Fayez. So Brent, you know, he has been the talk of the town low key, and I feel like he has finally had a spotlight to shine. I've been listening to him since like way back. But of course, when he released Sonderson, that's really kind of when people finally noticed the true talent this man has. He literally talks about how bad of a person he is in relationship wise through songs, and nobody pays attention. It's very subtle. I like it. It has motifs. It gives me themes. It just gives me nice little Easter eggs. And when you really sit down and focus on the lyrics, you realize that this man is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs on how he about to treat you as his girlfriend. If he even calls you his girlfriend, because the way that it be going, you know. So Brent Faiyaz just recently dropped his newest album called Wasteland. It came out a couple days ago. For the most part, as a production value of work, I think it was pretty good. This one was a little bit different because he went to the interludes. I'm seeing a lot of artists pick back up on that, where they have skits and interludes in between the album, I guess, either to tell more about the story or to make sure people actually understand the whole body of work. In his past works, you really don't get that. You get like nice little bridges of interludes, which is just him singing in between transition. But this one is like quite literally a story. It's like a high key, low key, Real Housewives of Hollywood, love and hip hop mixed together with like a sprinkle of Black Twitter. And it gets wild because at the end of the album, man, when I tell you, he pulled the strings on the heart. He went for a full length drama. With this album specifically, I read an interview that he did with Vogue, and he really went back into like the 80s, 90s theme. He watched a lot of retro LA, retro in the scene city type movies. And I think with this album, he was trying to create city life and the complications of being in a relationship, and specifically being in LA. I think he was trying to go back into type of the Vice City vibes and really focus on what is your vice, what is really toxicity. So in the beginning of the album, off the bat, we already start with like top tier toxicity. His first song is Villain's Theme. And essentially it's him doing an interview, or I guess it's a background of him doing multiple interviews where people kind of ask him, can you really back up when people say you're toxic? What is the definition of toxicity? And he really kind of says like people really don't know who he is, how really toxic he is, really kind of playing face regarding like, y'all just have Twitter fingers. You know, he says it's just a bunch of talk. And there's a difference, I think, between being like actual toxic on the internet and then being toxic in real life. I don't really think he sees himself as a toxic person. He just kind of doesn't judge himself. Like he knows that he's problematic, but he's like, everybody's problematic. Like y'all think I'm the only one that's out here sleeping with your girl? You think I'm the only one out here stealing somebody's baby mom and like blowing her back out at night and then I send her back to you in the morning? Like, no, it's everyone. Like, why me? But we know why, Brent. Because you can sing good about it. I can't sing good about it. If that happened to me, I would just cry and have a mental breakdown. And I think with Villain's theme, for the most part, it sets the tone for the album. It also sets the tone of his perception of how he deals with his relationships. And at the end, the big question, and I feel like the overall theme with the album is, what purpose does your vice serve in your life, right? And so when he goes into the transition throughout the rest of the album, he focuses on the fact that his vices are having sex with women, having multiple girlfriends, the fact that he just is in the mix of being in relationships and also focusing on his music and being lost within himself and not really knowing how to commit to one or the other, how to really kind of stay loyal, because he just doesn't know what love is. He doesn't know the purpose of love. What does it mean to me? Is it that important? And I think it just kind of goes into the exploration of the fact that he has these insecurities and he doesn't want to burden it on anybody, but he also doesn't want to, it's kind of like deflection. It really is suppression at the same time. I think it's like, I have these problems. I know I have these problems. Am I going to take care of them? Not really. One of my favorite songs on this album is definitely Gravity. I definitely like how the music is just compiled together. It also features with Tyler, the Creator, and I love Tyler, the Creator. I feel like anything that he touches is musically gold. That man is a whole production value in itself. Gravity essentially is just about, don't wait for me. I know you want to wait for me. I know you holding me down, baby, but he's not it. He's not the one. He's out there chasing fame and he's out here focusing on himself. And he was like, I don't want to wait. I don't want you waiting too long, you know? It's compiled with the fact of the same theme of I love you, but like don't love me back, and different alterate versions of himself. As you go further into the album, you realize that he has a girlfriend. I want to say it's his girlfriend. It should be his girlfriend. If anything, he has a baby mom. And essentially, she moved out to LA for him. And she knows nobody, and she feels stranded. She feels alone because she knows that he's sleeping with other people. And he knows that he's out here just in the streets, and she's out here having his child, about to have his child. And in the skits, you kind of see how he acknowledges it, disassociates from it. It's crazy because in the first skit, they have a conversation and he's talking to her, and then somebody texts him who he says, wow, that's crazy. You think it's another girl? It's really my manager. It's not his manager. And as he leaves and he tries to like console with her, she just says, bye, Chris, which means you're done. Go. So he catches a flight. And as you go into transition, you see how he talks about more about the toxicity that comes with the price of fame, how he has essentially a fantasy with somebody else, being Ghetto Gatsby with Alicia Keys. It's really good. I like how it creates kind of like this dark theme of a sneaky link, you know? And of course we have Wasting Time featuring Drake. Now this single, it came out, I want to say last year, if not like a couple months ago, somewhere early in the year, somewhere in transition. It feels like a really old piece now, but I didn't think it was going to make it to the album. Of course, it fits in with the theme. You know, this is him talking to the sneaky link, his side piece, because he says, if you want to waste your time, then waste your time with me. I mean, honestly, he tells you right there, up front and center, but he makes it so good. It's like you don't even care, man. In Rolling Stone and even in Waste Your Time, I think it's just him stepping up to live in his truth. He's always honest, you know, and that's what I appreciate about Brent, aka Chris. But he essentially says, you know, ask my ex-lovers, man. Ask all my groupies, ask all my homies. He's like, I'm out and about in the streets. The streets is for me. I am the streets. The next track that he has is with Junie, which is FYTB, which is you talking about right now. And I understand that. I feel that that's my everyday mantra. I feel like that can be used for any and everybody because that's how I feel right now in this selection of the matrix that we're in. He has it featured with Junie. I like Junie. Junie is an underground artist, in my opinion, but he's definitely getting a lot more exposure. Y'all should definitely check him out. And in this song, essentially, it's just, he's telling his side piece, it's just you and me right now. All right? Forget that I actually have a baby mama back at home who is pregnant with my child. And forget what the streets is talking about right now. It's just focus right here, okay? We're in this right here together. And that's what it's going to be, what it's going to be. I also like how he just essentially is just like, I got the money and I got the fame, but it's just you and me that I only care about. Allegedly. This track is definitely a bop. I feel like this is the one that you play when you are driving from your sneaky link's house back to your girl's house, or you're in transition in between. Maybe you're trying to like leave a date to go to somebody else, and you just kind of play this to, you know, hype you up, give you a nice little mantra in between. So next we move into the next skit, which is Oblivion, which reveals his side piece, which is the one that texted him in the first one, which is Egomaniac, if I didn't mention the name. And essentially it's about them on the way to the flight, and how something goes down in the limo on the way to the flight. When his baby mom calls him, and she got the nerve to say, oh girl, she gonna say, well, it's not like y'all are married or anything. Who is you right now? The audacity is truly real. And this is kind of where it's like toxicity full level. Okay, you supposed to catch a flight back home, and you out here laying it down on the way to catch the plane. It doesn't get any more toxic than that. I mean, this man is literally top tier, top level. I kid you. Who else is doing this? I mean, well, you know, it could be. I don't want to expose nobody. So after Oblivion, we have Dead Man Walking and Addictions. And essentially this is him knowing that how bad his addiction is, which his addiction is just having sexual relations with a lot of people, a lot of women at all time, every time, all day, every day. And essentially this, I feel like, is the main arc where he is trying to figure out how his vice serves a purpose to him, or the fact that what his vice is, what does that mean for you, and how does that relate to him as maybe an artist or a man or as a person, and his viewpoint of the fact, like, he just be running the streets, and it's like, Lord, you know, I know this is bad, but I can't stop it. I can't help it. I can't run away from it. So Jackie Brown, I really like Jackie Brown. It's also one of my favorite songs on the album. This one, he goes back and forth in a tie in between, I guess, with his girlfriend who is pregnant, and then his side piece that he's with as well. And essentially in the lyrics, it just says, my new nice Halle Berry, but she don't love me. She too scary. My old fine, like Jackie Brown. I don't want to love her. She too down. Which, like, how can you be too down? Explain that to me. How can I be too committed to you? I don't understand. That's like toxic level right there, man. The rest of this track essentially focused on the fact that he has wealth and he has fame, but that's not enough. And he doesn't know what he wants. And that means in women too. So he's just at a crossroads. It's like, you know, the addiction and the high can only last so long. And now he's back on ground zero and he don't know what to do. And it's always a dilemma when you can't pick between the many of women that you have at the finest selection. I like how he uses his background voice as a secondary opinion or vocal assist on his track. He does that a lot, and I like that because it kind of shows a different perspective, like he's talking to himself or it's two different people talking to him, but it really is him. So the last songs that we have for the rest of the album is Bad Luck, the skit Wake Up Call, and then Angel. So in Bad Luck, essentially, he like flips the narrative where he's like, I always have bad luck because essentially his side piece that he's with, I'm guessing, unless it's somebody new too, essentially has caught the feelings, okay? She wants to be number one. She said, I'm top two and I ain't even number two, okay? And essentially it's like, I always have bad luck, all right? Why do you always want to be with me? You know, I'm just not for you, baby, even though y'all have literally been together throughout this whole entire production of the album. I will definitely say for this track of Bad Luck, it definitely has more of a 90s vibe to it, and I really like it. It definitely gives me like fresh out of mid 90s, trying to be like a heartthrob, giving you kind of like a heartbreak, but like don't play with me. Gives me a little kind of a reminder of what the early days of Usher, maybe a little bit. But I definitely like how the beat carries throughout the whole track. And I definitely like how it just gives a nice little shaky vibe to it. It's so catchy that you don't pay attention to the fact he's like, I just need you to leave me alone. So the skit Wake Up Call, it's a lot. It's actually kind of a little bit traumatizing. It could be a little bit triggering for some people. Essentially, it's finally he has to deal with the consequences of his actions with his girl who's pregnant back at home. have been calling him for several days now. He's been putting her on do not disturb. All right. You might as well just have blocked her. And essentially she goes to very high grave circumstances to get his attention. And it ends badly. It ends real badly. It ends up shaking him. It ends up shaking the whole table, actually, because I was shook. I listened to this album, half of it being in the gym, and I'm out here about to cry in the gym. So full narrative goes 360. And she essentially just says, like, you have to answer for what you done. Like, you can't just be a hoe and try to be a father at the same time. And then it transitions into Angel, where in this track, essentially, he talks about remorse. And I think this is his incentive to try to be a better man or to be a better person. And the fact that he still wants to lay claim to this woman, right? It's like, at the end of the day, you'll always be with me. You'll always be mine. Even though, like, you didn't keep her in the first place. I just, and that's the end of the album. So essentially, overall for the album, I would give it a rating of a solid 8 out of 10. It's not necessarily my favorite work, but it's definitely a really good listen. I'll definitely say the production value for this album, music-wise, was definitely very good. I like how he always plays around with his beats. Nothing really heavy with guitar as it was with his last projects, but I definitely like how it just kind of shifts and it changes, how he plays with maybe some 808s and he does a little bit of synth here and there. And I like how it really does give me like a nice classic LA vibe. It kind of gives you a little bit of nostalgia here and there. It just kind of goes back into, he said his muse for this work was the 80s, late 70s, early 80s, maybe mid 90s. He definitely delivered that. So I would definitely say it's a good work. Definitely check it out if you want to have your feelings just jumbled, or if you just really want to resurface old feelings. But that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.